Rent in Nigeria. It's like they're playing a game and we are just pawns. A one-bedroom apartment can cost an arm and a leg. And don't even get me started on the service charges. As the service charges for what? For the broken tiles or leaky roof, the perpetual noise pollution. It's a menace. Let's talk about landlords, for instance. They are the real MVPs. They hike the rent every year like clockwork without so much as a leak of paint or a new fixture just to justify it. You are just grateful if they don't throw in a developmental levy for good measure. People are forced to shell out a year's salary for a year's rent just to have a roof over their head. And God forbid you want to negotiate. They'll just tell you to take it or leave it. It's like they are doing you a favor by letting you live in their meager property. The government seems to be asleep at the wheel, and we are the ones paying the price. Rent control, you say? That's just a myth, a pipe dream. Until something changes, we'll just keep paying through the nose, wondering how we got stuck in this never-ending cycle. In the heart of Nigeria, a silent crisis brews, hidden behind the facade of bustling cities and vibrant markets. It's a crisis that touches the lives of millions, a struggle that echoes through the night, and a dream that seems perpetually out of reach, the dream of a home. For the overcrowded streets of Lagos, for instance, to the sprawling suburbs of Abuja, the housing crisis in Nigeria has become a defining fixture for modern life. Families are forced to live in cramped makeshift apartments, paying exorbitant rents that consume more than half their income. Young professionals are priced out of the market, relegated to sharing tiny apartments with strangers. The elderly struggle to find affordable housing, their golden years marred by financial stress. As the population grows and urbanization accelerates, the demand for housing far outstrips supply. The government's efforts to address the crisis has been piecemeal, inadequate, and often ineffective. Corruption, inefficiency, bureaucratic red tape have hindered progress, leaving millions of Nigerians to fend for themselves in a market that seems rigged against them. The rent crisis grappling our nation demands comprehensive response from our government. We can no longer afford to ignore the struggles of citizens forced to dedicate excessive portion of their income to rent, often without access to decent housing. We demand policymakers, developers, stakeholders to work together to address this menace, or should I call it a pandemic, by implementing and enforcing policies that will cap rent increases, protect tenants from exorbitant hikes. Investing in affordable housing projects and increasing the supply of decent affordable homes would also be a solution. Offering subsidies and incentives to developers, encouraging them to build affordable housing units, and also strengthening tenant protection laws, safeguarding against unfair eviction and exploitation. This way, we can ensure that every Nigerian has access to a safe, affordable place called home. Welcome to Breakfast Extra. I am Dakpo Adegboye, sitting in for Mazino. And of course, I'm not alone. I have Judith Atibi. Judith, good morning.
Dakpo, good morning to you, and well done with the monologue. I mean,
thank you.
You're giving them solutions. You think they're deaf?
You know, yesterday, you know, when you know, I had a conversation with the producer, and he said, "Oh, Dakpo, would you like to, you know, write the monologue?" I said, "Why not?" And so I thought, what is pressing? And I know I've been on this issue. I've even had to speak on it, you know, on PHQ. And that is the cost of rent. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. I mean, if the minimum wage is 77,000 naira, you know, maybe someone should do the math for me in the background, times 12. And you are telling someone in an economy that the minimum wage is 77,000 naira, You're telling them to cough out as high as 1.5, 1.2, 1.3, some 2 million, some 3 million. Right. And then they use the word, it's proximity. From here, you can locate every other place in Lagos in less than 10 to 5 minutes.
Right. You know, I mean, if you calculate 7,000 times 10, that will be 770,000 naira.
Judith.
So if you do...
Yeah, exactly. That's not even up to $1 million.
Exactly. So it's up to $1 million. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to.
So how do you expect somebody who, a society that the minimum wage is 77,000 naira, and when you do the sum math per year, it's not even up to $1 million. How do you expect such an individual to be able to afford a decent accommodation? I think it really needs government intervention. I've had some people say, it's the private sector. Look, telecommunication is run by the private sector, right? But there is a regulatory body. You cannot just come into the industry and say you want to put a price because you feel, you have to stay in business. No, you have to follow what the regulatory body demands.
Right.
The same thing too for power. It's an essential necessity. It's not negotiable. You might set whatever power plant you want, but at the end of the day, there's a regulatory body that controls, your pricing, your operation, and all of that. I think the same thing should be applicable to rent. I hear people say, materials are expensive. The same builders will build in Lagos, and then the price they charge in Lagos for their so-called POP apartment. When you go to places like Ibadan, even Ogun State, some parts of it, you see better houses, but for lower price. So I think it's just greed, to be honest.
Now, I have another take, but I wouldn't take it now. I think that let's just first of all bring in our viewers, and then when you come over here, we're going to dissect together.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Let's get started, shall we, on your favorite weekend breakfast show, and that's Breakfast Extra. And you're welcome. Very good morning to you, and welcome to your weekend breakfast show, Breakfast Extra. It's your trusted companion for all the big stories, compelling conversations, and news that truly matters across Nigeria and the continent. Now, here's what we've got lined up for you today. We begin on the high seas of River State, where piracy and kidnappers have returned with terrifying frequency. And of course, in the big report, we bring you exclusive stories from victims and investigate what's fueling the crisis and why dislodged oil bunkers may be switching tactics to abduction for ransom. Now, still on the big report, the spotlight shifts to the halls of Nigeria's education financing, as NEL Fund says it has disbursed billions in student loans, but now it faces a 71.2 billion naira fraud probe by the ICPC. What really happened to the funds meant for Nigeria's future? We dig deeper. Then in Wellness Central, we mark World Lupus Day by shining a light on a disease that often hides in plain sight. We're joined by a public health advocate who tells us what we all need to know. And in a truly historic moment for the Catholic Church and the global faith community, we take you to Focus Africa, where we unpack the implications of the election of Pope Leo XIV, the first American pope. And we're going to be joined by the head of Region Africa at CAFOD to give us a bit of insight on that. So as always, I would say grab your coffee. We've got the facts, the questions, and the context you need for your weekend. This is Breakfast Extra, and of course, let's get started. And we're going to start very quickly with Dakpo's monologue. It was quite the monologue, I will say. We're talking about rent earlier, and I was saying that I was going to bring a different angle to you. And my angle is pretty simple.
Okay.
I think that Lagos is ballooned.
Okay.
And I think that the housing crisis that we have in Lagos is because of the powers that be. Back in the 80s, back in the 90s, back in the 70s, I was lucky to go to a boarding school where it was a melting pot of different persons. There were children who they brought them from abroad to come and learn the Nigerian ways. There were children who lived in Kaduna and Boko, Benue, and Jos, and they all would travel a day before and spend the day at night at the hotel and then come in. Different people, different backgrounds, different parts of the country. And when you if I think back now, I realized that their parents were all working there. Those who lived in Kaduna, either their parents were working in the fabric mill, or their parents were working with NNPC, or their parents were in education, or better yet, in defense, right? Those who were in Boko, their parents were in agriculture. Without a question of that, it was Benue. You get what I mean? Those who were in Jos Plateau, you can tell that their parents were either in the Christian faith, and so there was always that you see. We need to decentralize Lagos.
Okay.
If you do not decentralize Lagos, people are going to benefit off of the housing deficit.
So, what do you mean by
decentralize Lagos by
exactly
start to open up the ports in areas that matter. So, back in the day, all these areas, all these parts of the countries or states were known for the industries that they had, whether it was education, whether it was the mills, whether it was the sawmills. They all were agriculture. They were just things that they were. But it's not the same here, and it's not the same anymore. Everything has now been piled on Lagos, which, again, commercial hub, but at the same time, we need to start to decentralize, open the ports in on air, let the Warri refinery start to work, free trade zone for others, and not just say, not by policies or by hearsay, but also federal might and political might that everyone is like, okay, let's see this place work, let's see this place work. So people can up their life and go to, I mean, you see husbands working in Port Harcourt offshore and their families is in Lagos. Why?
Why?
I don't get why. Why aren't you leaving? Why isn't your family in Lagos? You see a husband working 5 days a week in Abuja, flies down to Lagos. Why?
I mean, these are real topical issues. So maybe, of course, that would definitely be a solution.
Decentralize Lagos
to places, or I mean, populated places like Lagos. But I think, on a broader perspective, there really needs to be a policy solution on the rent issue. Yes, we know there are laws, but it looks like those laws have gone to sleep. The charges, for instance, that come with many of these rents is enough to even discourage anyone. It's as high as almost the rent itself. Caution fee, legal fee, commission and agreement, and then you ask yourself, and then right now they will also tell you service charge too, and then developmental levy. On how much? So
again, all these expectations will happen.
I think that something really needs to be done. But
all those expectations will happen because we have not decentralized Lagos. Decentralize Lagos and see who will be charging you 20% on agency, 10% agreement, 5% caution fee. Let's see who are people. People are rushing to Ibadan and Shagamu and Ipo-Remo. Anyway, moving on. Let's bring in the dailies for today, shall we? All the major headline stories, major front page newspapers across Nigeria. We'll start off with Sunday Independent, and Dak was going to take our Sunday Independent.
All right, for Sunday Independent, the big story, you have it on the screen there. 2025 UTME results. Stakeholders lament dismal performance. And there on the right, you see loud digitalization for exposing current education standard, and also seek policies to address fresh challenges for students. Still on Sunday Independent, experts identify challenges of federal government Nigeria First policy, slams government for ignoring nation's infrastructure deficit, and one of possible conflicts over international trade issues. And then just below, we have it, 23 persons killed in fresh headers attack on Benue communities as Northern governors call for collective action in tackling terror banditry. And that's it. Of course, for more, you might want to grab a copy.
All right, indeed. Let's move away from Sunday Independent, shall we, to our next paper for today. And the one that comes right up on our screen there after Sunday Independent is This Day newspaper. As the one here for this day, the very first one at the very top there, Rubadu, strong institutions, attitudinal change, crucial to win anti-craft war in Nigeria. Tinubu asks Supreme Court to dismiss PDP governor suit against Rivers emergency rule. Find that story on page 5. Kwankwaso condemns defection of governors lawmakers, says joining another party after winning election highest form of betrayal. That story is on page 5. Northern governors demand review of security strategies, seek the creation of state police, hail Tinubu's sustained commitment to tackle security challenges. Governor Sani allays fears on abuse of state police by governors. You can find that story and more there on the front page there. It continues there on page 5. Honoring Africa's richest man. That's a picture up there that you can see there with Dangote. I think this was during the honor Dangote for Chancellor of the Aliko Dangote University of Science and Technology, Wodi, Kano State. That was from yesterday. At the bottom there, UBA, Fidelity Bank, Airtel Africa, 16 other account for 84% of 68.34 trillion naira market capitalization on NGX, and that's the Nigeria exchange. That stock exchange there. You can find this on page 5. Interesting.
All right, let's move to Sunday Vanguard next. And of course, the big story there has it. Alleged stolen mandates. Uncertainty as lawmakers lost by People's Democratic Party. Others rise to 82. YPDP narrows looming lawsuit to Delta. And then there's also zoning, how the South nearly missed power shift from the North. Sule Lamido revisits Nigeria since 1999, intrigues. Still on Sunday Vanguard, just above the masthead, killing spree, Northern governors rattled, Amotekun, other states, security outfits struggle without guns and personnel. You are a traitor, Kwakwanso.
No, I'm not.
Hits defectors hard. That's a Sunday Vanguard. And Ekiti ranked first in Nigeria on fiscal transparency. Lagos LG polls. The deputy governor's siblings, Ogunlewe's son, 53 others emerge APC candidate. Well, for details and more, you might just want to grab a copy this morning.
All right, so moving from that now to the Sunday Tribune. At the top there, God has revealed 3 persons who can stop Tinubu in 2027. I highly doubt it. And that's from the Pre-Mint, Ayo Daily. You can find us on page 9. It says, I warned Nigerians in 2023, speaks on new threats to Nigeria. I highly doubt God revealed anything to you, but I will just bite. Who? At page 5. On page 5 here for the Sunday Tribune, mass exodus of nurses from Nigeria, other African countries looms. WHO raises alarm, reveals 42% of nurses planning to immigrate. I don't blame them. And the very big one there that jumps at you, Northern governors, traditional rulers, make U-turn back Tinubu's tax reform bills. State police, Northwest governors move to tackle insecurity, unemployment, and drug abuse. You can find that story on page 4. At the bottom there, Southwest governors, eminent Nigerians, eulogize Fasoroti. You can find that story at page 90, at page 6, and of course, Fasoroti died at the age of 99. A photo up there, I think forgive me. My sincerest apologies. Actually, it was his birthday. I thought of Pa Ayo Adebanjo.
Yeah,
that's, please, my sincerest apology. I can see the photo up there for Pa Fasoranti's birthday there. You see that picture with Ondo State Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, the former Ogun State Governor, Senator Gbenga Daniel, and other dignitaries helping Pa Ruben Faroti to cut his 99th birthday cake in Akure, Ondo State on Saturday. Again, my sincerest apologies for that. At the bottom there, primary school demands 5,000 naira from students to become head prefect. Oh, goodness. Don't you just love it when Nigeria start to happen even at the grassroots level? You can find that story on page 23. Vote buying at its finest. At the bottom there, you have right to appeal. Lagos APC says, announces winners of local government election primaries. That story is on page 5. Atiku Slams EFCC accuses agency of targeting Tinubu's critics. That story is on page 6. And right next to it, gunmen kill 23 and fresh attacks in Benue. Find that story on page 4.
All right, up next is Sunday Punch. The big story. You have it? Mass defections. PDP governors in emergency talks with party bigwigs. And they're just, of course, the bullet points. You have ex-governors, BOT members meet state executives in Abuja today. Defectors showed true character, says Damagum, NWC member. Also on Sunday Punch, Anambra Lagos lead in UTME malpractices. And the big one also, AMVCA, 7 doors shine as Femi Adebayo, Chioma Akpota win big. And then we have a fresh defection rise, APC's National Assembly members to 265. NERC orders discourse to compensate Band A customers. Oh, I'm a Band A customer. Do I get some compensation here? Because we pay a lot. Nigeria one step away from authoritarian state. Politics done. That's Professor Jinadu. And then, fueled by hunger, luxury vehicle owners hit the streets as taxi drivers. Wow. And then finally, we have hospital detained my nephew over 13 million naira bill after Lamata bus crash, according to technician. Well, for this and more, you might just want to grab a copy of Sunday Punch.
All right, well, I think that's all of the papers that we can take for now. So let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we start off with our big story and, of course, our get started with the biggest story for the week. Stay with us.
It's been a week of political back and forth, and at the center of the latest exchange is Senate President Godswill Akpabio and the Labour Party 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi. Obi speaking at a valedictory session in honor of the late elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark decried the state of the nation and remarked that the labor of Nigeria's past heroes were already in vain. But Akpabio did not take it kindly to the statement. He responded swiftly, urging Obi to channel his inner energy into uniting his own party, which has been riddled by internal disputes, before inciting public sentiment or criticizing the government through social media. Akpabio went further to advise Obi to emulate the legacy of the late Edwin Clark, who he described as a unifier and a symbol of national cohesion. So, what does this say about Nigeria's political climate? And what does it mean for a party that once sparked a youth-led movement? Let's take a look at this report filed by National Assembly correspondent Sir J. Ibrahim.
Where do we start talking of our dear father, Clark? For someone like me who had just been part of this 2023 election, he lived a life of courage, a life of sacrifice, a life of justice, a life that is valued. But most importantly, he's continued living that life to the end. I listened to my brother Mike when he talked about, may the labor of our heroes past not be in vain. I'm sorry, I'm happy that Jagowan is here, and I'm happy that Jonathan is here. But I can tell you, their sacrifice is in vain. They've sacrificed for nothing. We're in this country when people were protesting, when there was no need to protest. Under Jonathan, where are those protesters? Have they died? Where are they? So why are we saying it should not be in vain? Then it swelled from 87 naira to 120, and people were protesting in this country. And when it was 900, they were not protesting. Are they there?
And yet, when somebody makes a statement that the labors of our heroes pass are in vain. I beg to disagree. Let our brother Peter Obi show leadership like Edwin Clark did by resolving first the crisis in the Labour Party. For a man who wants to run Nigeria, you have one of the smallest parties in Nigeria, and you cannot even resolve the crisis in that Labour Party. Is it the crisis of Boko Haram?
Interesting times we find ourselves. Anyway, now to our big story, shall we? It's one that has thrown Nigeria's opposition politics into fresh turmoil. It's the Labour Party and is once again in the headlines, but this time it's not about the 2023 elections or Peter Obi's movement or his comments or Pavio. It's about a deepening leadership crisis that threatens to tear the party apart. This week, a faction of the Labour Party's National Executive Council, led by Senator Nenadi Usman, announced the suspension of Julius Abure, the embattled national chairman, and the party's national youth leader, Prince Kennedy Ahanutu, for 6 months. They also dissolved the National Working Committee, citing allegations of impersonation, forgery, and anti-party activities. The Nenadi-led group has now named a transition caretaker committee to oversee the party's affairs, a move that has been rejected by loyalists of Abure, who claim the process is unconstitutional and politically motivated.
But is that, or is this about accountability, or is it a power grab masked as reform? We are joined now by two guests with inside perspective on this unfolding drama. Kennedy Ahanutu, the suspended national youth leader of the Labour Party, who insists the action taken by the caretaker committee are illegal and in violation of due process. We also have John Igbojionu, is the secretary of the Labour Party in Abia State. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for coming on.
Okay, so I think we should start with...
I don't like your intro because you must verify before you use that on national TV. Suspended nationality, that is kind of this thing on my personality. I don't like that.
I didn't get that you said?
That I've been suspended, that's it. You've confirmed that I've been suspended. That is what you're telling me. You have confirmed that I've been suspended.
Okay, we sincerely apologize for that, but Comrade Ahanutu, that's why we are having this conversation, so that you would clear the air on these issues.
That nomenclature in the first place.
So how would you rather, sorry, how would you rather be addressed, sir?
My name is Prince Kennedy Ahanutu, the national youth leader of Labour Party, as simple as that.
All right. Were you aware of the decision to suspend you, and what's your response to the allegations of your suspension? Let's start there.
Before you talk about suspension, you must first of all confirm the legitimacy of the suspending body. That is the starting point. You must confirm the legitimacy of the organization.
So we're confirming from you. Are you aware of this decision to suspend you? We're asking you.
There's no Labour Party National Caretaker Committee. If you have the Labour Party constitution with you, you can confirm if there is any such provision of Labour Party Caretaker Committee. Nenadi Usman, that is leading that committee, is not a member of Labour Party. It's well established. Let her provide the proof of her membership. So you can't take such a person serious. It is not because somebody is saying that the tenure of the Inspector General of Police has expired. Is he still in his office? He's in his office. Yesterday, I was in my office. I discharged my duty as a national leader of Labour Party, and somebody is somewhere cooking up stories. If you go to the office of the National Inspector General of Police, you will meet him there.
Prince Kennedy, when you say you discharge your duties as of yesterday, what do you mean by that discharging your duties? Was there any party activities?
Yes. We have.
All right, can you give us details on that?
The national chairman yesterday, the southwest people of the party in the FCT had their town hall meeting yesterday, and they did it in the national secretariat of the party. And I was mandated by the national chairman to represent him in that occasion. and I did excellently.
So the national chairman being Julius Abure?
Yes.
All right. Let's, of course, ask or change the conversation and ask our very own honorable there. I mean, what do you make of what is happening within the Labour Party?
So are you sending the questions to me?
Yes.
Am I to respond to that?
Yes.
Okay. Like the comrade said, the national youth leader said, I personally do not find it welcoming when you use the word they suspended. Now we have a constitution. The Labour Party had its own constitution. And whatever is happening in the party that is a deviant to the constitution is not recognized by any law of the land, including the law of the party. So the individuals who have been out there claiming that they are coming under an umbrella, an unknown umbrella to the constitution, caretaker, if you can avail yourself with the constitution of the party. The caretaker committee that's being led by Senator Nenadi Usman, who is not a member of the Labour Party. She has no registries. There is nowhere you can find a name from the ward down to our LGA as being a member of the party. So if someone who is not even a member and also under a constitution, her so-called caretaker committee is not being recognized. So where does she derive powers from, or the committee? Where do they derive power from to make such a pronouncement? So for me, it's just a charade of some persons who are being excited, firstly, to put out such false narrative. So for me, the Labour Party is an intact and duly led by Barrister Julius Abure.
Okay, but let's, sorry, John. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's go back to that Supreme Court ruling. It appears like members or some members of the party are giving it diverse interpretation. Nigerians are watching. And I mean, for quite a number of them that are following it, they seem pretty confused. There's an interpretation that says Julius Abure is no more the leader. Another fact is saying, no, you know what? It's an internal party issue. By the party's constitution, it still remains the leader. Another faction is saying that his tenure has expired. So who do we believe here? What's going on? What's your interpretation of this Supreme Court ruling?
Okay, let me say this, please. It's unfortunate we find ourselves in the situation in the country at the moment where a judgment or a ruling by the apex court will be given diverse interpretation without, measures being taken by the law enforcement agency to stop that. The decisions or the ruling, the judgment by the Supreme Court is not ambiguous. In their wisdom, they made it emphatically clear that they, being this apex court on the land, and even the other lower courts, do not have rights, do not have the jurisdiction to determine the leadership of the party. And they assert in that judgment that the party leadership challenge can only and could only be taken care by the internal mechanism of the party. And you ask yourself again, what are the internal mechanisms of the party that the Supreme Court says can only determine the leadership? These are the National Convention, the National Executive Council of the party. And you know also go further to ask, what makes up these persons that formulate the National Convention and the National Executive Council? And these are every one of these persons within that hierarchy is in support of the Abure-led executive. They came up on the convention and elected in March last 2024. So let me say this and make it clear to you all to understand. People can go about just to satisfy their whatever position. The Supreme Court had made it clear, and within the purview of the law, anyone doing something contrary to that judgment is tantamount to a case of creating anarchy and chaos in the society. It is not ambiguous. The Supreme Court made it clear, said, subject yourself.
Comrade John.
Every key actor challenge should subject themselves to the internal mechanism of the party.
Comrade John.
The party has...
You are the secretary of the party in Abia State. Abia State is a stronghold of the Labour Party. All thanks to the governor, His Excellency Alex Otti. Given the convention that was held in the state in Umuahia last year, and then afterwards following up that was where this caretaker committee, where Nenadi was sort of installed. what are you saying? What is the Labour Party in that region, in that state, saying, given that that's your state, that's where you are the secretary for the party in that state, and your governor that was elected under the umbrella of your party is a stalwart of the party?
Okay, thank you for that question. But let me make this clear. What happened last year, September 4th, at Umuahia, where I call it a kangaroo stakeholder meeting was called, is a height of illegality in the first place. Now, no member of the State Working Committee was part of that engagement to start with. No member of the State Working Committee. Now, when you are calling a meeting in such magnitude, it is only within the rights of the national chairman in directing the national secretary to call such a meeting. A governor, there is nowhere in our constitution. Like I said, let's be be guided by the constitution of the party. There is nowhere in the constitution of the Labour Party that gave power to an executive governor or an elected officer to call a meeting in the name of stakeholdership or whatever. They even went further to go into an error. Initially, they wanted to have it as a national executive, and they know they could not. They don't have a right to make such a meeting. And if you're having such a meeting, for instance, the INEC would be informed of such meeting, just like what happened with the convention we had that brought about the new leadership. INEC was well and duly informed and notified of the meeting. And so whatever happened at that meeting, it is null and void ab initio. It is not and should not be, taken serious or recognized by anybody. Because the party has their own constitution. And that's a violation of the constitution of the Labour Party. So in its fair place, it is an illegality, and you cannot establish anything on illegality. You can't put up something on nothing. So it does not exist in its first place.
All right.
So that's what happens. And we at Abia State, the members of the Labour Party at Abia State are totally not in consonance with that meeting. Non-member, like I said before, not even a member of the State Working Committee was part of that engagement.
Okay.
Julius, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
I was going to ask Comrade John how long he's been a member of the Labour Party. Because I'm going somewhere. If you just indulge me for a second. How long have you been a member of the Labour Party?
Okay. I've been a member of the Labour Party actively at the State Working Committee since 2021. Since 2021. That was before. Yes, that was before the interest that brought about the governor and even our presidential candidate Mr. P2B into the party. Right.
So from 2021, there was some sort of obscurity. It was thanks to the popularity of the obedient movement that we saw Labour Party being shown to the limelight, right? And you would agree with me on that, right? So my question now is, right after the Nenadi-led caretaker committee emerged from that Umuahia convention, there was a snafu that happened, and then afterward there was a rhetoric of sort of a merger, that there was no issues in the Labour Party. Why can't the Labour Party hold its house together? Why these factions at a party where it's barely is even getting enough sort of backing, or there's a beast that's about to emerge by 2027. There's a wave that is sweeping across the nation, a tidal wave that feels like a tsunami. We see it on the newspapers, we see it on magazines, we see it at front desks, we see it everywhere. Every home, every conversation on social media is about something of a beast is coming. Is this necessary for Labour Party to do this? Is this time for Labour Party to be doing this? What is best for Labour Party at this time? And what is the message that you are pushing out to Nigerians that are watching right now, this morning, this very second?
So in all fairness to Mr. P2B and even His Excellency Dr. Alex Oti, they brought some value to the party by the time they came in 2022, and they contested an election in 2023. But I can tell you, prior to that time, the party has been in existence, has produced governor at Ondo State, Dr. Mimiko at the time. We have produced senators So the Labour Party, as I speak to you, like somebody, I saw a video where the Senate president said is the smallest party. As the country, in the country today, based on these challenges, that the common challenge of the common man on the street, the Labour Party represents the yearnings of the commoners on the street, and we are the strongest opposition party, the leading opposition party in the country. So anybody that aligns to, give such statement that we are a small party does not exist in the first place. So what I want to say is this: the Labour Party is not disenfranchised, it's not disorganized. What has happened is like taking off the head of a snake, a reaction. Within the short possible time from now, of course, it's going to be very clear to everyone that, look, this is the known leadership of the party. Of course, you saw some of the people that followed one of the senators to INEC. Some of them recently that followed them to INEC, even that because they went to INEC with the CTC. I mean, they are now the court bailiff to go there and to submit the. So you can find that most of those National Assembly members have already defected.
Comrade John, I'll come back to you. We'll definitely come back to you. Let's move to Comrade Anatu. And now the Nenadi-led caretaker committee says that it's about cleaning up the party and restoring accountability, and also positioning the party as a major force ahead of 2027. Do you see any merit in this? And looking at what is happening within your party, do you think this is also politically motivated? Do you think there are moves planted in your party to destabilize it such that it can stand as a force in 2027?
Thank you, my good brother. Sorry for the altercation in network and my introductory attitude anyway. But that's by the way. Nenadi Usman is not a member of the House. He does not know where is tidy and where is untidy. If you tell me His Excellency Peter Obi, who ran the presidential election, I will say yes. If you tell me about the suspended governor who ran election and Labour Party and won, I will tell you yes. They are members of they are part of the family, they are part of the House, even though the governor has been suspended for clear anti-party activities. And if Nenadi is supporting Ale Esoti, what would Nenadi say about Dr. Ale Esoti conducting a local government election in Zenith Labour Party, in another political party? If Nenadi Usman mean well for Labour Party, why will Nenadi Usman, that is not even a member of the party, that is claiming to be a caretaker committee chairman, follow the former governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai, to go and join SDP? This should simply tell you that Nenadi Usman is dancing a naked dance in the marketplace. Because if she's a member of the party, she should know that she shouldn't have been the one to accompany Malam El-Rufai to SDP. On no account, no national chairman have ever done that. That is not politics. So Nenadi Usman is not in the position to clean up or to say that their interest is to clean up the party. However, the Labour Party is a family. If we have any challenge, we have internal mechanism with which we use to solve that problem. Not that people that doesn't mean well, people that have not even understood the fundamental principles, the ideology of the party, because none of them have spent up to more than 2 years in the party, and they are the one talking about transparency and cleanliness. INEC, the regulatory body of political parties in Nigeria, looked at every financial transaction of the party, and they adjudged Labour Party as the best political party in terms of transparency. The records are there. They should go and check. What they do is that they come to social media. We don't have strength and money to pay bloggers. They have dominated the social media, the Twitter, the Facebook, the all what have you.
I'm sorry. Sorry, you said they come to social media, they play. Who are you referring to here?
I'm referring to Nenadi Usman and her team. They pay heavily to bloggers to blog their activities on social media. And we, as Labour Party, we don't have that much. Look at where they went to have a party meeting. In Transcorp, Labour Party is for common men. We cannot afford Transcorp. Governor Esoti is using the fund, the money meant to develop Abia, to fund a meeting in Transcorp. Is Transcorp the only hotel we have in Abuja? But because they want to do show, they want to show us that they have the money. They want to show us the
Comrade Anatu, I want to ask you a point-blank question. Please permit me.
So, having said that, Nenadi Usman is not in position to clean our house because he...
if you can hear me, Comrade Anatu, I'm just going to put this question to you directly. You made reference to the Abia State Governor, His Excellency Alex Oti, saying that he's been suspended. We also know that the Abure faction also suspended some other elected officials within the party, Senator Ireti Kingibe being part of it. Now, my question is this: without these people in your party, in your led party, do you think that the Labour Party can survive as a strong opposition in 2027? As a strong opposition?
No, to start with, there is no faction in the Labour Party. We have a leadership, ably led by Barrister Julius Abure. And now, the party is an organization where people come in and they leave. Before now, the party is surviving. If we are not survived in the first place, they wouldn't have come in the first place. Some of them are barely 2 years in the party. Right? So the party was in existence and would continue. Some persons have been in the party before now and had left, and the party continued to survive. If the party was not in a good place, I don't think they will find the party attractive enough to come in. So for me, those that have been suspended by the leadership of the party remain suspended. It does not also mean that if they change the course of their action, the party will not, absorb them back. However, this is politics. There are people even on the sideline that would have been observing what is going on in the state and in the country, as it were, that is finding the Labour Party attractive to drive whatever ambition they have politically. So we cannot start talking about the survival or not survival of the party based on those suspended. No, the party is very strong nationally, and we have a very strong grassroots presence. So the survival of the party does not depend on these individuals.
Comrade John, let's talk about your structure, right, and the manpower that you say you have in terms of grassroots support. At the National Assembly level, how many of the members have defected to the APC?
At the National Assembly level, a few members of our party have defected. About 5-6 of them have defected to the APC.
So the House of Representatives, federal level, how many have defected to the APC?
The House of what?
The House of Representatives on the national level. How many of them have defected from the APC?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm asking the members of the Labour Party that were elected into the House of Representatives.
Hello?
I can hear you loud and clear. You said that you have support, right?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh.
I can hear you, John. I can hear you loud and clear, John.
What's the question again?
My question is, you are saying that you have grassroots support and the party is strong, right? And so I'm asking about the wave of defections. How many of your members, both in the Green and Red Chamber, have defected from the Labour Party to the APC? And how many of them are left?
Okay,
all right.
I think
Prince Kennedy, can you hear me?
I hear you clearly.
Yes, I was asking about defections. How many of your members have defected from?
I had a question in the House of.
No. Hang on. This is only. I'm sorry. This is a one-way road. Prince Kennedy. This is a one-way road, unfortunately. So we're going to do this. I mean, the reason why I'm asking the questions is about support, really. So if all the strong stalwarts are the persons who seem to be loyal to the party in some sense, and by loyalty I use it very instructively in this case. For example, Governor Alex Oti, who seems to have the support of the Abia State Governor and Senator Kingibe, who is at the Abuja level, and also the presidential candidate of 2023, who seems to have somewhat, there's no place that he's never been that is not any crowd that sort of goes to him and show their support and appreciation for him. So it begs to ask the question, if all these members are suspended and they decide to move to the APC, or they defect to the APC or any other party, what support and what strong stalwarts will be left in the Labour Party? That's really what the question is. I was trying to get there. But Prince,
I understood your question perfectly.
all right.
My response is this. Our country is a place where people worship individuals. Before Alex Otti became governor, who was he?
Well,
He became a governor by the vote of the people. So the people knows the manifesto of Labour Party, okay? And now in APC, in PDP, people have been defecting. It's not just a problem of Labour Party. You saw what happened in Delta State, where the governor left by himself. Many governors are still leaving their parties to join Tinubu. Many governors will still leave. And we're even anticipating that before now, our only governor who couldn't criticize national economy on a TV broadcast he held with Rufai of Arise. He couldn't criticize national economy with all the things that are happening to citizens of Abia. He couldn't say that the economy is fine or economy is bad. We also anticipate that he may be joining the APC because it has been speculation. It has been speculating that he wants to join the APC. So in the National Assembly, about 10 of them have left the party. About 24 of them are yet to make their decisions. But where their loyalty lies, I can't tell. But about 10 have confirmed their exit from the party. In the Senate, we have only one that have officially defected. The one that was suspended, I produced her. In the primary that made her senatorial candidate, I produced her. It is the people that made her senator. And those people that made her senator in the FCT, how much has she affected their life? Politics is beyond speaking grammar on TV. It's beyond what you see on the floor of the National Assembly. If you have not done the fundamental things of reaching out to these people that voted you, another election is coming. We will not know if it's about Senator Ireti or if it's about the people of FCT. Another election is by the corner. We will not find out if what you said, that if the strong man, there is no strong man or woman anywhere. There can only be a strong institution. It's what we are looking for.
All right.
If we want Nigeria to be better,
Prince Kennedy.
look at building strong institutions.
Prince Kennedy.
Strong individuals.
Right, Prince Kennedy, I have to ask you, I mean, earlier during your submission, you said that Nigerians are fond of worshipping persons as opposed to otherwise. I mean, when you look at politics in and of itself, whether it's Trump or any elections that we've seen at the global South, America, UK, or even here in Nigeria, South Africa, it's always the same. It's always about the individual because that's what matters. And you yourself, you have shown an unblinding and unwavering support for Abure, despite questionable, I mean, despite reactions and allegations of, of misappropriation and the rest to his character, but you nonetheless support him and you support his leadership. Is his leadership so far in the last 1 year been exemplary, given how the divided Labour Party is? And why do you still choose to support him or stand by him?
Thank you, my sister. In the first place, the level of worship to individuals in Nigeria and Africa is far, 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 far away from what happens in UK and the US that you know. In the US, an opposition leader will criticize the government, criticize Trump. Of course, you are seeing what is going on in the US now. People rise up and they criticize Trump, and it will not stop them from winning the election next time. In Nigeria, if you criticize the president, you stand a chance of losing an election. It is that bad in Nigeria. So don't compare Nigeria and US. In US, institutions are working. In Nigeria, a governor can mandate you to be arrested because he has the economy of a state.
Okay.
Right, but your presidential candidate, but your presidential candidate does that. He's been very vocal about everything. He's been one of the vocal voices when it comes to speaking truth to power, when it comes to the sake of the Nigerian people.
Okay.
Who?
Your presidential candidate for 2023.
Our presidential candidate, yes. He's a true opposition, but look at what has been happening around him. They are looking for a way to bring him.
How about your support? We're talking about why you choose to still stand.
Jobs on him.
Right. So, Prince, hang on, just a second, please. Forgive me. How about your support for Julius Abure? Suspended or not suspended, one thing is certain, allegations continue to trail him, right? And in the last 1 year of his chairmanship of this party, it has dissolved and split into two. What do you say to that? That's the question.
That question is, you are asking me a wrong question, because I was elected in 2019, the same day Barrister Julius was elected National Secretary of the party, and I was elected Deputy National Secretary. I am not his PA. I am a deputy. I used to be a Deputy National Youth Leader. Okay. The same day Julius Abure was elected the National Chairman of the party, I was elected as the National Youth Leader. So I am defending the institution.
Comrade Ayanatu, just in 30 seconds, because I understand we need to go. I'll go back to what the Senate President did say concerning your presidential candidate for 2023, Peter Obi, saying that he needs to unite, show leadership by uniting the Labour Party. So my question to you is this. He's not been suspended, at least from what we know, by the Abure faction. What is it doing anything, in all of this? What's his role in uniting the Labour Party at the moment? With reference to what the Senate President said, is there a response to that?
Well, you heard what the Senate President said, which for me I felt was not necessary, but that nevertheless, we look up to His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi to come back to the party. The party cherishes him, but that does not mean that any individual is above an institution. But the party respects him because of the value he brought into the party. And we look forward to him understanding that what is happening is not about an individual. It's about institutional processes. It's about his following constitution of the party. It's about the sustainability of the soul, integrity, ideologies of the party, of that institution called party. So Mr. Peter Obi, for me, for the past 6 months, I've not seen him around the party. He has not come to the party. He has not met with us, but we are open to meet with him. Yes, because he added value to Labour Party. But that does not mean that with or without him, that Labour Party will go down. Labour Party will live above me, above Abure, above everybody. In the next 30 years, 50 years, some of these men would have retired. And Labour Party will still be there because it's an institution.
Okay.
Many of us don't even know what will happen before 2027. But Labour Party, with that name, Labour Party will be there after 2027, after 2031, after 2040. Labour Party will still be there. Most of us cannot ascertain where we will be at that time.
Okay, just before I let you go, Comrade Ayanatu, I'm still going to stay with you, Comrade Ayanatu, just before I let you go, because we're really pressed for time. Comrade Lamidia Papa, who also, claims to be a member of your party and, has even held a press conference. I'd just like you to speak. What role does he play at all within the Labour Party? Who is he within your party?
Lamidia Papa, according to the Labour Party constitution, is under expulsion. So whoever that is telling him to come to national, in fact, I call it comic relief. Some of his colleagues that planned that queue with him are gradually trying to find their way back to the party. So it's better that he should start finding a way to be forgiven by the party than for him to go out there and be claiming. If you can remember, courts have even discredited their process that wanted to bring our Papa. So he can't even claim legitimacy. And there is a neck that have suspended him, convention have expelled him. So all these things are what is hanging on his neck. But it's to tell you that in Nigeria, anybody can wake up in the morning and say anything and do anything because of people backing him. So our Papa does no longer exist in Labour Party. And I've not seen our Papas for the past 2 years in Labour Party office. And I've been going to office most times. I've never set my eyes on our Papa. I've never attended any meeting with our Papa for the past 2 years. And I don't know, he can organize a press conference in his room. I'm doing this thing from somewhere. He can be somewhere and call media people. They will put camera on him and he say anything he wants to say. But in practice, just like the caretaker committee, in practice, they are not in control of the party. In practice, Barrister Julius Abure is the national chairman of the party. Omar Farouk is the national secretary of the party. So in practice, that is what we are talking about. It's not about what people are saying on TV. It's practical. We want practical. Thank you.
Thank you. Comrade John, are you there? Are you back on? Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Yes. So earlier,
Can you hear me?
yes, loud and clear. President Kennedy earlier was saying that the conference that was held, or the convention that was held in Abuja, was he alleged that it was His Excellency Alex Oti, your governor, the monies that was meant for the Abia state persons that he used for Transcom Hotel. And then he said that the Abia people are suffering. I must ask you, do you also align with that sentiment? Does the Labour Party is Labour Party in Abia State funding the Transcom Hotel conference?
The Labour Party in Abia State, as it were, sincerely was not okay and happy with that meeting, the Transcorp. But that is not to say that the governor, who is using the manifesto of the Labour Party to achieve, some significant results in the state. But then the resources are limited. There are more things he should have channeled those resources into the state. The state he met the state in a very bad situation. So we can, whatever resource that was used in that meeting that is not called for should have been channeled to other things. Of course, he's using the manifesto that we gave him during the campaign period, and he's working on it. And you can see some of the significant results we're having so far in the States. So he cannot deny the fact that he has been, adhered to some of the things within that manifesto from the party. However, we have a situation in the States. This is the time, because the States have been embedded with all kinds of bad leadership for the past 24 years. So one would expect him to have a better focus into governance rather than some of these political engagement. This is just about 2 years in power. So, and for me, I don't appraise a government within the 2 years. So whatever resources, whatever attention, whatever focus that is required by the governor should be focused on the development of Abia State. So I would agree with my comrade that resources should have been used, to develop, to add to certain development challenge in the states.
All right.
So for me, truly, and often.
All right, let me just state this and put a caveat here and say that these allegations are based on both of you. We don't have any comments on this. We do not know for a fact. There are no facts to base this off. For our viewers at home, these were comments. We do not share these comments, and they're basically there. So, and I must say thank you, gentlemen, for taking out the time to join us and coming on to the program this morning. We appreciate you for taking out your Sunday morning to come on. President Kennedy Ahanatu, who is the National Secretary for Lagos Party, Labour Party, Julius Abure-led faction, as well as the Secretary of the party for Abia State, Comrade John Igbo Giono. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we head to River State, and this time is the insecurity in Niger Delta. After the break, stay with us. Welcome back. We continue in River State, where the spat of sea piracy and kidnappings has become a source of fear and anguish for many residents who rely on the waterways for transport and trade. The latest incidents involve the hijacking of a 6-passenger boat along the Port Harcourt Bille sea route. It's an attack that has plunged several families into stress and left many questioning the safety of the region's creeks. News Central's Bille has been tracking the situation and speaking to some of the affected persons. Let's take a look at her report.
Sorry, Selling.
Baby Selling, just 1 year and 4 days old, is restless and unaware of the turmoil surrounding her. Our father, a victim of sea piracy, was kidnapped a day before our first birthday, leaving our family in distress.
That is going to come back.
Sophia, her mother, has been comfortless herself. The whereabouts of her newlywed husband has been unknown for days. Overwhelmed by emotion, Sophia tells me that she has no idea how to cope with her schooling and caring for her toddler all by herself.
I'm just a young girl. We just got married or everything, and it's just...
The boat operator who was conveying Sophia's husband and 5 other passengers from Bille to Port Harcourt narrates how the incident unfolded.
I was coming from Bille down to Port Harcourt. So after when I crossed the river, I saw 200 horsepower with armed personnel. They now divert our boat back to the creek where they came out from. They started collecting our phones and our money, all our belongings, and started beating some of us. One elderly woman asked one of the sea pirates that if I'm your mother, is that way you are going to treat me? So they have that little conscience on her. So they didn't touch her, they didn't collect anything from her.
Bille, the capital of Degema, an island local government area in Rivers State, has only one way in and one way out of the council. And sadly, the singular means of transportation, which is by sea, has become one of no return for many. The story of Sophia is a sad reality that many coastal communities have had to deal with for decades.
Bille, with our wealth, Nigeria is what it is today. But when it comes to us, we are suffering. Our waterways are not safe.
The insecurity situation is one too many, and it's worrisome. When you enter boat to go, there is that apprehension. You are always afraid. That is the level everybody is at now.
These wives, whose husbands were victims of the deteriorating security conditions across Nigeria, look through the windows every day, hoping for the return of their husbands. They call on the government and security operatives to ensure the release of their spouses from their captors.
I was calling his line. His number does not go. So the next thing I heard, they have carried them. Coming from Bille to Port Harcourt is no longer safe.
I don't get anybody, now him be my father, and everything to me. I no go fit carry him. I get plenty children with him. I no go fit carry him. Mona waka anywhere I want go find I can't give me. Mona find I can't give me.
The uncertainty about the conditions of their husbands is even more troubling as they are yet to be contacted by the abductors.
Up till now, we've not heard from them. They did not even call, no information. Please help us.
Owing to the security challenge on the waterways, these people now have to choose between risking their lives to travel home or remaining in the capital city, Port Harcourt.
My uncle is among those that were kidnapped, so it's not a funny thing. I'm supposed to travel today, but I cannot travel because when you're traveling to your community, you'll be looking at your left and right. You cannot even breathe. You cannot be okay because you're scared.
I want to travel, but because of the way the river is, I can't travel because of what is happening in the river.
For those involved in boat transportation, piracy and kidnapping on the waterways mean bad business for them.
I have lost one of my boats to the sea pirates, which cost me more than 6 million naira. Their operation is getting out of hand, and we want the federal government to do something about it.
Our passengers are no more safe, even the drivers and even on our boat. So as we are going, we only move with fear. We ask God to protect us down to Bille.
Although the state and local government authorities have at various occasions announced the provision of patrol boats on the waterways, those plying them say security is inadequate to guarantee safe travels.
Is it possible for us to go to Bille with you today?
If you want to go to Bille, there must be arrangements, because we cannot take responsibility of people that are just coming, strangers and visitors. So if we have to go to Bille, we have to make arrangements. We have to make arrangements for security.
The brutal truth is that Locals in these coastal areas have no choice but to brave the dangers on the waterways, despite the risk of attacks and kidnappings. With no alternative routes or transportation options, they must rely on boats to travel to their destinations, making them vulnerable to the threats that come with it. In Port Harcourt for News Central, Bille Festus.
That was Bille Festus capturing the human toll on these, as a result of these maritime crimes. Now, let's take a step further. There are growing concerns that these attacks are not random, but part of a disturbing shift in criminal tactics. Some freed kidnapped victims say the abductors were illegal crude oil refiners, angry and displaced by a recent security crackdown. Tantita Security Services, contracted to protect Nigeria's oil infrastructure, has reportedly dislodged many such illegal refiners. In retaliation, some of these actors appear to be turning to hostage-taking. Once again, here's Bille Festus with a follow-up report on the growing link between oil bunkering and insecurity in the creeks.
On the 4th of April this year, a passenger boat conveying some 6 persons from Port Harcourt to Bille was hijacked by suspected pirates. In desperation, families of the kidnapped victims cried out for help, urging authorities to enhance security measures on the waterways. 12 days later, the victims were released by their captors, but their freedom was not without a price. A whooping sum of 28 million naira was paid in ransom.
Where they took us, we don't know, nobody. If our brothers and sisters are looking for us, they cannot see us, even 10 years.
About 12 days without food. So we are drinking salt water. No food, beating us, just like that.
Right now, I am very sick. I now have a chest problem because they use the gun head to hit at my chest, hit all over my body.
However, contrary to what was previously believed, the abductors turned out to be a group of illegal crude oil miners and refiners, reportedly venting their anger against the Bille community for allowing Tantita Security Services pipeline surveillance in their domain.
That's always the problem. They said nothing that they come here to kidnap us, that we don't want them to do bullfire. Bille people don't want them to do bullfire, that we stop bunkering. So they are supposed to benefit from the bunker, but as Bille people went and signed Tantita contract.
So when they took us to their destination, is there they revealed that somebody asked them to come and kidnap me. That I'm the Tantita chairman, head of the Tantita Bille, and I'm the one that taking care of the warheads from the Bille houses. That I refuse them to do bunkering.
The victims explained that their abductors vowed to disrupt peace in Bille community and its waterways as long as Tantita Security Services continues to crack down on illegal crude oil activities.
Their major problem is the Bille people, because they said Bille people is the ones that scattered their pot that they are using to boil the crude. So Bille people is their targets, that any Bille boat they see, they will finish them. After this our incident, let's say any Bille boat that they see in that river, they will kill both the passengers and the drivers.
The Bille community remains gripped by fear and uncertainty, with residents hesitant to travel to their ancestral homeland due to the ongoing security concerns and threats from the illegal oil refiners. With the revelations by freed kidnapped victims, the onus is now on the government and security operatives to take decisive actions to protect the people of Bille community and address the menace of illegal oil refining, popularly known as bullfire in the area. In Rivers for News Central, Bille Festus.
Thank you, Bille, for that critical reporting. It's clear that insecurity in the Niger Delta is evolving, and unless addressed swiftly, Both lives and livelihood remain at risk. More to come. Stay with us. We, of course, will be right back.
All right, and then we're informed that we have Bille live now. Bille joins us live. Bille is live. She joins us all the way from the capital of Rivers, Port Harcourt. And we also do have with us one of the abductees, one of the persons who were released from the den of the piracy or the kidnappers, the pirates or the kidnappers that was abducted. Bille, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you, Judith.
Thank you. And also to our guest, Bille, if you can help us do the honors and introduce our guest.
Okay, we also have joining us one of the freed kidnapped victims. It was part of those that were hijacked on their way from Bille to Port Harcourt on the stance that they allowed Tantita Security Services to monitor activities of illegal bunkers.
Well, I mean, I must say well done on stellar reporting that you did and just going behind the scenes and seeing this to the end. And let me also start by speaking to the gentleman. We are so thankful that you're joining us in spite of such a traumatic experience that you went through, and would like to hear from you. Please share your experience with us, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Abure by name. I'm working in Tantita. So on the 4th of last month, they kidnapped us. When we are coming to Port Harcourt, as we cross the New Calabar River, they preempt us, point us gun, and carry us to a creek. They blindfold us. Where we find ourselves is inside creek. They again maltreat us, beat us, hitting us gun and all the rest. What they normally said, they said, somebody give me my picture and send my data to them to kill me. That I'm the head of the Tantita Security Bille, that I'm the one that taking care of the warheads, and I refuse them to use them for bunkering activities, that they should kill me. But they've collected money from them, and they will also collect money from me. But if no be God, they could have killed me. But they will not kill me. But whichever way I will do, I will try and make sure that I reach out to the people, that they are hungry. If we didn't allow them to do bunkering, they will attack the Tantita Security Services that are working on the river with the gunboat. And now they are doing badging on our territory, that they are not carried along, and the company are using gunboats to secure the badges and the vessels, that they are going to attack those people, but they are preparing for them. So they begin beat up, maltreat us, no food for us to eat. Finally, they collected 28 million naira from us before releasing us. That's what happened.
You said that they collected a ransom payment of about 28 million naira, before you were released. I mean, the exchange, how did it happen? Where were you eventually dropped off?
They dropped us close to Okreka. The name is Dodge Island. That's Okreka territory.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Abure. Let me come to you, Bille. I mean, very fantastic report, pretty much detailed, looking at it particularly from the human angle perspective. What do you, Bille, consider an urgent solution to this problem? What do the people need? A practical solution from what you've observed.
So have been following up this report and have been covering the waterways in Rivers State for a very long time now, for nothing less than 7 years. And I can tell you that it's been on the increase lately. I've never seen it this much. Currently in Rivers State, there's not a week, in recent times, there's not a week that passes by that you do not hear one incident or the other on the waterways. It's either someone is being kidnapped or a boat is being hijacked, stolen, maybe for commercial purposes on the waterway. Now, this situation right here is not the one that we are looking for the cause. There are already indications. There's already a pointer to where it's coming from or to the possible cause of this recent attack on the waterways. The people, I've been following up the story. I went to their homes, I went to their houses, I sought to speak with them, and they told me what it was. It is very clear here. These people who were once oil bunkers, they call it fire, they call it oil bunkery around here. They are angry. Why? Security operatives that were contracted to secure these pipelines have dislodged them. They now have no business. They now have nothing to resort to, according to them. So now they are taking out the anger on residents of this community. I mean, some of these people that were kidnapped told me off camera that they have the capacity to take on these bunkers, but they are just being civil. In fact, one of them told me that if the government will not come to their rescue, they will take up arms and fight these bunkers who have vowed not to let their community in peace for as long as the community's pipelines are being surveyed by Tantita Security Services. Now, we now know where the problem is coming from. The onus is now on the government to rise to the occasion. I mean, some days ago, member representing Bille Federal Constituency, Honorable Cyril Parks, was on the airways saying he condemns the insecurity on the waterways, but it's not enough condemning it. Actions need to be taken. He is their rep. What has he done? Has he taken a step further to contain this insecurity? I covered these people. I talked to these people. I went to their homes. I saw the grief in their eyes. I felt their pains. I know how many times I've had to stop within interviews to tell these women, sorry, it will be okay. They wept while they spoke to me. So I could feel their pulse. I could see what they went through. And now we have some 7 WAEC candidates abducted in the kidnappers' den right now.
7 WAEC candidates. Sorry, you said 7 WAEC candidates.
Yes.
That's sad.
These are just teenagers. So you imagine what their families will be going through right now.
Right.
These people that came.
I mean, this is a crucial nerve, right, between both communities, and whether it's, transporting goods and services or getting back home or going to the main town, the community is affected. And this is a multi-layer threat, right? Piracy, oil pollution, and now kidnapping, to the point where teenagers, which is where I draw the line, is now involved, and they're just going to education. How are they coping with this multi-layered threat? How are they managing their lives? Are they able to get to work and get to go to school and do all those things that should be normal for every day?
Now, this local government area, other way out than by boats. You have to come through water. It's their own situation is even some sort of critical. Unlike Bonny, yes, Bonny is also an island, but you could go to Bonny through a chopper, or you could fly to Bonny. But in Bille, the only way is by boat. So they have braved these dangers to get to their communities. And this resurgence in piracy attack is becoming a thorn in their flesh.
All right, Bille, I mean, just before you go, I mean, you said that the people, from your interaction and investigation with people on ground, residents there, you said some of them said they can even take on these bunkers. So my question to you is this. I mean, from what you have observed and your interactions, how sophisticated in terms of weaponry, are these bunkers?
Well, I wouldn't know because I've not encountered them before.
Yeah.
But those people that's released, when I spoke to them, they said they had weapons on them, they had rifles. And I don't know the sophistication level
Okay.
of those weapons.
Maybe I should direct the question also to Mr. Abel. And I mean, you work with Antita, that's a top-tier security firm. What do you suggest from what you've observed? I mean, you were kidnapped and all, as a practical solution from a security perspective.
And given that you're part of the head of part of security at Antita as well.
Yeah.
What I experience, and my experience goes like this: if we can engage, like the trunk line, because they engage the community and the security, we are doing the right thing. They couldn't get access to the trunk line. Now, in terms of security in the community, the Marine Police, the Navy, and the Army are there. But they are not securing the life and property. They only secure the oil facilities that they ask them to come and secure. So what I need is they call on, the security people should call on the community, the army, and the DSM, which is joint task force, for us to, that's the local security, either vigilante or whatever name to call, for them to mix up with the security, because we know the cliques where they are. If only the military can go, they might not get them. But if they use the local security, we can support them and locate them. So since they are giving a job to Tantita, billions of naira to secure the trunk line, if also they collaborate with the communities, and at least from the federal to the state, can able to join hand and finance us, we can fight these people and this problem will solve.
All right.
All right. I mean, I must say thank you so much, Mr. Abure. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate you for doing this with us and for sharing your story with us. And we are so thankful that you're out and alive and free. And also our hearts go out to your family as well. And also thank you to Bille Festus, our correspondent live from Rivers State, Port Harcourt, for just giving us and sharing that report and just going behind the details and bringing this critical story. I must say thank you for all of your hard work. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we come back, we get on to health as we talk about World Lupus Day. But after the break, stay with us. And welcome back to Wellness Central, this time where we bring you the latest health insights and stories that matter. Today is World Lupus Day, a moment dedicated to raising awareness about a chronic autoimmune disease that is often misunderstood or entirely overlooked. Lupus affects millions of people worldwide, and yet it remains one of the most misdiagnosed and underreported conditions. For many, the journey to diagnosis is long and filled with uncertainty, fatigue, joint pain, rashes, and internal organ complications that are often, sometimes too often, brushed aside.
And of course, but beyond the statistics of real people living with a disease that affects not just the body, but the mind, livelihood, and the quality of life. To help us better understand the silent toll of lupus, what warning signs to look out for, and how we can support those affected, we are joined in the studio by Dr. Olawale Ogunlana, a public health advocate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
I mean, lupus, for our viewers at home who maybe are just hearing this for the first time.
Okay.
What is it about?
So, lupus is one of the diseases that are classified as an autoimmune disease, and I think it's very important for people to understand what autoimmune means.
I was about asking that.
Yes. So, when we say the body has an immune system, which is like a defense mechanism of the body, which acts like a first-line response to infections or toxins or anything, right? So, but in the case of autoimmune conditions, this defense mechanism turns on not infections this time around or bacteria or toxins. it turns on healthy tissues and organs of the body. So it means that it begins to recognize the healthy tissues of your body, the cells, that is your eyes, your lungs, your heart. So the tissues around, your organs, it recognizes them as foreign and it begins to attack them.
So it's like the body fighting against
itself. So it turns on itself and it starts fighting. So that is exactly what autoimmune condition looks like. And the thing about lupus is usually called a disease of 1,000 faces because when we talk of lupus, we are talking of systemic lupus erythematosus. That's like the full name of the disease. And it has different, because what we mean by it's a disease of 1,000 faces is that it has different presentations because it affects different parts of the body. So it's systemic. So that is where the name systemic lupus erythematosus comes from, because it can show as a rash on the face. It starts usually with fever and joint pain. Some people would think it's malaria. Some people might just think that they are ill, they have a flu. But whereas, essentially, that is one of the reasons why it's one of the misdiagnosed disease conditions in the world, because it can present no two systemic, no two SLE cases are the same.
Okay, so is it hereditary? Can it be contracted?
Okay.
How is it acquired?
So in most cases, especially in this part of the world, it tends to be genetic. So some people tend to have it due to genetic factors. There are also certain
genetic makeup, not necessarily it's been hereditary.
Yes, and then there are also some different environmental factors that could lead or cause that disease. But
for example, to pneumonics.
But the whole general idea is that when it occurs, it can be quite devastating. And when we talk about the systemic effects of SLE or lupus, it ranges from something as simple as a skin rash to something as severe as kidney failure. Yeah, so that's the range.
So for instance, what are those like physical signs or you see on your body to know it's lupus?
Okay, so in cases of SLE, so there are different forms of the symptoms that people can recognize. But when we want to diagnose the disease, a lot of things have to be put. There are a lot of criteria that have to be put in place. It's not you can't just have a skin rash and then I'll say it's lupus, right? There has to be a certain amount. There is a criteria for diagnosis, and each of those criteria have different things that need to be done. For instance, skin rash is one of the things that people can notice. There's a certain pattern of skin rash known as the butterfly rash that appears on the face in people that have lupus. It can also be on their it can be on their fingers. They can see it, around their fingers. There can be issues with joint pain. Many times they do have complaints of joint pains, like severe joint pains. There could be fever, there could be muscle pains, there could be fatigue or tiredness. And all the symptoms that I'm currently mentioning now are symptoms that people would probably experience when they are having something like malaria, right? But then this happens on occasion, and when you go to hospitals and you get checked up, you realize that it is not malaria. Then what is it, right? Normally, the next goal is to proceed for further testing. But because people don't have proper awareness about it, they just feel that, it's because of my mood, it's because I've not eaten, or because of xenobonomics, like she mentioned. I don't But then, because of these things, people think that I'm just okay. They don't see the need for proper further testing, like for instance ANA testing, that is for antibodies, testing for antibodies that are sensitive 90% of the time in cases of lupus.
All right.
So,
I know that this foreign artist, Nigerian-born British artist.
Who's that?
Seal.
Yes. He has lupus?
Yeah, has lupus.
Interesting.
With the face,
with the
yes.
face.
Yes. But back home to Nigeria and testing, diagnosis or even testing, our healthcare system on the brink of, I won't say systemic failure, but unfortunately it is what it is. I can only imagine for those who are in underserved regions and have to reach regions who seem to have this type of condition may just be not be able to get diagnosis? What are the challenges, for Nigeria? Okay,
so one of the challenges that they face, especially for Nigerians with regards to SLE, is, there are no systems that are available for them, especially in the rural areas. So most times, because of the way the healthcare system works, we have the primary healthcare, then secondary facilities, which are the general hospitals, and then we have the tertiary facilities, which are usually teaching hospitals. So primary healthcare facilities are usually the first line of care in cases like this. And most times when they go, because of the huge burden of patients that they have to take care of, because of the lack of manpower, because it's not every hospital or primary healthcare facility that might have a doctor at that point in time. So because of that, there might be gaps, certain gaps that cannot be met. And then people go to community pharmacies. In fact, the first grassroots, when we talk about grassroots healthcare, it's usually community pharmacies, because when somebody is feeling ill, most times they don't go to the doctor immediately. They go to the community pharmacist. I beg, they feel headache. You get something for headache.
Or primary healthcare center.
Yeah, so or primary healthcare center if they feel that they need to see a doctor. Yeah. But in community pharmacy cases, because those people, the people that are there aren't necessarily doctors or able to spot or say that, oh, it's not just malaria, it could be lupus, right? Because of that, they just say, okay, it's a community pharmacy, so take this paracetamol, use it for the fever. And let's assume that in the presentation of a lupus patient, fever is one of the presentation, and joint pain. Of course, if you give the person Panadol or diclofenac, the pain will go, and then the person feels better. And when he feels better, they ask him the next day, how are you feeling? Okay, they do me again. Right. Whereas that was just a flare. And if it was an SLE case, it was just a flare. That is, the person is having a flare. That is, the symptoms are getting obvious, right? So, and then there is remission. But it comes back again. And when it comes back, it keeps attacking different other organs. And that is why by the time they discover that it's probably lupus that they are dealing with, the person is already coming with lupus nephritis. That is, the person is having, the kidney is affected. So people then, they now say, I cannot handle it here. Oh yeah, go to the hospital. From general hospital, they look at the case and they say that this is a tertiary hospital case. So they move you to tertiary hospital. And when you get to the tertiary, this is just a scenario. Yeah, it's just. And when you get to the tertiary hospital, they'll tell you that you came late, so you will need kidney transplant. So you see how the gaps, how these gaps cause ripple.
I mean, that would take me to the question of affordability in terms of the treatment. Right.
Is there even a treatment to begin with?
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, there's no cure.
First
of all, yes. So for SLE and lupus, there is no cure. But the management is key. There are drugs that are currently available, helpful for the management. And then also, like I said, it's when we talk about management, we are not just talking about treatment, we are talking about the whole aspects of care in that is diagnosis, testing, okay, and treatment. So all of those things put in that context. That is actually what is needed. So yes, we have them in Nigeria, but then are they affordable? That is something that I can hardly tell, because Nigerians are finding it hard to feed. Healthcare is one of the last things that is, usually when you look at Nigeria, when you ask Nigerians what are the top 5 things, healthcare might not be there. Whereas health is supposed to be the number one, because good health will allow you to achieve every other thing that you need to achieve.
This of course is a really core and pivotal issue. But in terms of awareness, and I'll stay with you on this, do you think enough is being done, particularly at even school level, basic education? Do you think awareness is there now?
Okay, so I would say there has been a lot of efforts towards awareness, but more still needs to be done. I personally feel that when we talk about awareness, a lot of people just feel that it's by having outreaches and reaching out to people, but it has to be in context. So what you tell somebody in the southwest area of Nigeria, for instance, shouldn't be the same type of information or the same type of context that you give in the north, because the way they live is very different.
And religion, ethics, their belief.
Language is very important. All of those things are context, and sometimes it can be very difficult explaining some of these things in individual languages and in local languages. So that is why there is still a barrier, you know, at that level, and more still needs to be done. I will agree with you on that. More still needs to be done with regards to sensitization at the grassroots level, because that is where we really need to change. People like you and I can easily flip up our phone and Google lupus, and everybody will know that. But then when you go to the grassroots, the areas where there is lack of internet access, or people just have a dumb phone, you know, not a smartphone, how can we contextualize information to people like them?
How dare you call my second phone dumb phone?
Don't be angry.
How dare you call my second phone dumb phone? That's almost a reliable phone.
Yes, but can you read PDF though?
It's reliable.
Can you read PDF?
He can reach me. But let's talk about. Let's talk about. You said Google, right?
Yeah.
And I remember back in 2021, I don't know what it was. It started out like a small, it looked like a ring worm, which was very shocking for me, because I'm like, you met me, you know what I mean? And then before you know, it spread out, and I started to get worried, and then itching all over my face, my body. And when I went to the hospital, they were like, they said, oh, it started out as that's the motherboard. I'm like, wait, what? I think my dream has come true. You know what I mean? Like, a spaceship came, an alien came, and the motherboard. Because that's what I thought. I was like, yeah, finally, science fiction. And then come to find out it's a condition. And then when they set the term, and then funny thing, I'd been Googling it, and Google kept telling me that's what's wrong with you. But also, all the pictures that were coming up were of white people. You know what I mean? And
yes.
I know I'm light skinned, but also I'm blackity black. Okay, so none of those things. And what I was saying didn't look like me. And so I didn't understand it until I went to get the confirmation and diagnosis that, oh, this is what you're doing. They're like, oh, there's no treatment. It's going to give you an injection to quell the flares. And if you're having, you know, something to more to cool it, because the rash will just go by itself. I forgot the name now. And so even when you're Googling, you're not seeing representation of yourself, right? And you're saying that this has joint pain, joint pain, headaches, fevers, and then the rash, right? When you Google and you see, because I mean, I'm looking at, you see a white person, you know?
Yes.
So how then can we tell people what the symptoms are? What are you going to look out for? How do we educate Nigerians that are watching so that they're aware when they see somebody else and they know that this is it, gone, and you need to see it?
So that's a very good question. And I think this is where technology really comes in. I think I think about 2 months ago, I was introduced to a platform. So I think it's called Visual DX, Visual Diagnosis, actually for healthcare practitioners, and it helps. It helps healthcare practitioners to be able to spot, you know, skin presentations, especially in people of color like you and I. So one of the things that we are trying to use now is artificial intelligence to ensure that in cases like this, the presentations, when a dermatologist spots, you know, a case of SLE with rash, it is uploaded, tagged, and put in that context. So this particular platform is intelligent enough so that when I will be looking or searching on that platform for the presentation or the classic presentation, I will be able to see I will be able to see its representation in, you know, you and I, in people of color. So that is exactly one of the challenges that we face currently, and technology is helping us to break that barrier and get access to it. But now, beyond that, you know, with awareness, with you know, literacy, health literacy content, with, like, for instance, what we do, one of the key things that we try to do also is to contextualize the information to ensure that when we are telling you about the presentation, we are talking about a disease, we are putting it in the context of people of color. That is you and I. Right. How does it look? How will it present? So those are the things that we are trying to do today to take care of it. These are still silos. They are not. It's not as if they are full blown, but we are hoping that with government support and support of other partners, we should be able to do this more, so that in the next 10 years, this will be a common occurrence.
When we were younger, we had an itch or a rash, or you had something or a patch around your skin. Unfortunately, in my neighborhood, you were literally, he has crocodile, don't play with that kid. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If I see you near that boy,
Yes.
you know, that's what it was. And so there's a stigma that comes with such, right? Let's talk about that, you know, and then, and also that fear. There's also this misconception that autoimmune disease means a death sentence, right? Because of oftentimes autoimmune diseases, there are no cures. So let's talk about stigma and also the sentence very quickly as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the stigma. I happen to know a warrior who also lives with the condition, and when she told me her story, it wasn't just the feeling of the stigma, but then it was the mood disorders, the fact that she, you know, she dealt with a whole lot of psychological problems. So yes, there is the stigma because sometimes these people are unable to cope with normal tasks that you and I will be able to do. For instance, we are sick and we get well easily, but then for them it's flaring up. It's, for instance, they can be having skin issues today, and then tomorrow they are having tiredness and fever and joint pain the next day and all of that. So they don't know what they will expect because of how SLE is, because it's systemic in nature. It can't just affect one particular organ. So before you know it, they are having symptoms. Oh, my back is paining me. Oh, my chest is paining me. Oh, everywhere is paining me, all at the same time. So because of that, they don't even know what to expect with the disease. And based on that, it can weigh their minds down. When they want to do a task, they start thinking that what if I fall sick, right? Okay. So that in itself weighs them down, can put them at risk of depression. And when she was telling me her story, I felt really for her, because how would someone be able to cope with such kind of challenge when you don't know the next day if you are going to be better? Right? So, and then there is the rash, like she mentioned, where people have to deal with rashes, and then they have to face the stigma. Oh, you have this. Oh, don't touch me, you know, that kind of a thing. And not knowing that this rash is not contagious, right? So people have to deal with such level of stigma. And the fact that, you know, the last question that she mentioned, autoimmune disease is not a death sentence. The most important thing is the knowledge and ensuring that, I would say this, that if you treat a particular thing, a particular symptom 2 times, and it appears again, and it appears that you're sick, usually it is time to screen for SLE. Okay. Usually that is the best. So when you've done all the necessary things for a particular disease and you see that it's not going, for instance, the person was complaining of chest pain and you did every manner of things and it did not get better, then the next thing to do is to screen for SLE. And then another final thing that I want to mention on the show, there are certain medications too. People have to take note of that can put people at, you know, that can trigger SLE or lupus. So yes, antihypertensive medications like hydralazine, you know, captopril, those kind of drugs, antibiotics like isoniazid, which is used in the treatment of tuberculosis, is very important. So for anyone who is on those kind of treatment, if you notice any of those symptoms like skin rash, joint pains, the moment you start using any of these medications, it's important to report it to your doctor immediately so that they can, you know, remove it and ensure that those symptoms can be taken away.
Afterwards, you write the names for me, yeah?
Yes, no problem.
I must say thank you so much, Dr. O'Malley, for just taking our time to join us. We appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Remember, it's not a death sentence, okay? Make sure to reach out to your doctors. If you see that those signs and those symptoms you're having seem to be recurring and you're on the 3rd time treating it, it might just be an autoimmune disease. But that's all we can take. Let's come back as Pope, the first American Pope makes history. All right, Pope Leo XIV. That's right. After the break, join us again. And welcome to Focus Africa, where we explore the major global events shaping the African continent and the world beyond. Now, it's a historic moment for the Catholic Church and for the global faith community as Cardinal Sean, the new cardinal has been elected as the Roman Catholic Church taking the name Pope Leo XIV. This makes him the first American pope in the church's over 2,000-year history. A development that is sending ripples across continents, including Africa, where the Catholic Church continues to play a central role in education, health, humanitarian response, and governance advocacy.
Now, what does this shift in Vatican leadership mean for the African Church? Big question. What might we expect under Pope Leo XIV, known for his advocacy for the poor and strong positions on climate justice? Well, joining us now to unpack this historic moment is Kade Akintola, is the head of Region Africa at CAFOD, that's Catholic Agency for Overseas Development. Welcome to the program, and thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining us. Also joining us is Clement as well. Clement Cecilio Siti Nkwaya. He is a cactus and a youth coordinator from the Cathedral of Christ the King Catholic Church at Diocese of Johannesburg, South Africa, and he joins us live virtually as well. Clement, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you for coming on.
And what you're seeing, of course, on the screen also are live images, or live image. We expect Pope Francis Prevost, who is, of course, known as Leo XIV, to come out any moment from now. Any moment from now, of course, to address the crowd. Well, let's come back to it. Now, let me start the conversation here with Mr. Akintola. I mean, the first American Pope, you know, in history, a lot to talk about. Proud to this, even though some people say there's a political angle to this, which I do not, I do not share with that. We saw Donald Trump do something about it. But let me just ask your reaction. The first American Pope, Leo XIV.
Yeah, I think for me, it's an exciting time for the church to have Pope Leo XIV as the new Pope, who is stepping into the saddle and taking over from where Pope Francis left the legacy. I think I have said this in some previous interview, I think also even with your station, to say that the church itself, it's a universal church. And so it's not a regional church that tends to look at the leadership on the basis of regionalization, or talking in terms of whether this is our own time to become the leader. So everybody, if you watch when the announcement was made, you would discover that there was a whole applause going on from across the entire world. Those who gathered at the Vatican City, at the St. Peter's Basilica, outside, you could see that crowd celebrating and jubilating. It wasn't about where this Pope has come from, because we know he's a leader who represents the entire church, and the entire church of about 1.4 billion people, as the statistics put it today. So I think for me, I'm sure everybody around the world is quite delighted that there is a new Pope who is going to be leading the church forward in addressing so many challenges that the world has been facing.
All right, I would also like to direct the same question to Clement. I mean, Clement, Pope Leo XIV, known for his advocacy for the poor, it's been consistent, and also from some reports, it was pretty much a close ally with the last Pope. What do you think are issues, or if at all, pending issues that you feel he needs to address?
Actually, I was so excited. I felt it was a blessing to have Pope Leo XIV, and also him coming from America. It was something that was marvelous and unexpected. Let me put it that way. But before I dwell into that, just to bring in the choosing, actually, how he was chosen, as we believe that it is the Holy Spirit who act on the. You can see the number of people were put on the front as the front runners and all the things like that. They never emerged as expected by people. Why? Because when the Holy Spirit chooses somebody who's going to lead the church, when God chooses somebody who's going to lead the church, he chooses according to his wisdom, not the wisdom of the people. You can even go back to the history, as you can talk of 2000 years ago when God chose Peter to become the prefect or the leader of the apostles. Peter was not, if you look into the history of the Bible or the way the Bible teaches, Peter cannot be put as he was the best character. Let me put it that way. But he was the best character for God. If we have to two disciples and say, okay, we are living in this current world now in 2025, we have Peace and Peter there and St. Thomas there. People were going to choose Thomas to be the leader, not the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit chose who? Chose Peter. Why do I say so? Because we look at certain qualities that we normally see day to day, but God has got his own ways of seeing things. Firstly, people would have chosen Thomas. Why? Because he was brave. You remember in the Bible when Jesus was going back to Jerusalem and the apostles were saying, you know what, they wanted to kill you just a few days ago and we want to go back again. And then Thomas says, no guys, let us go with him and die with him. We need such kind of a leader who is sort of like brave that we see in the eyes. But Pope Leo, no one knew much about him. Why? He only had 2 years as a cardinal, hardly 2 years as a cardinal, because he was installed in 30 April 2023. So that shows something that is great. And then coming back to your question to say the issues that he has to address. Telling you one thing, I wasn't surprised him chosen to be Leo XIV, because Leo XIII wrote one of the most important encyclicals that I believe that it will be spoken about deeply, especially during this time, when he wrote the Rerum Novarum, that was addressed to workers, that was talking to employees and how they to deal with people at that time, because the industrial economies were looming. But now when he's coming also in an environment where the world is actually having a time-ticking bomb, which is climate change, as you have spoken about. And then he has saying, okay, I need to also emphasize on these things. Right. There is climate changes which are happening, global warmings, which needs issues to be addressed. And most important is leaders of the church, they don't only address the issues, but also they put forth suggestions, just like Pope Leo XIII. If you read Rerum Novarum, you will see all the suggestions that he had tabulated, which were later ignored by the world, because sometimes these leaders, we ignore them. But having ignored that, it ended up having some consequences that led to even World War I and II. So now as he comes in here to address the injustices that are caused to the climate, the inequalities that are happening in our societies, and all these things that are affecting the African continent, I think it is high time that our leaders of the states, our leaders of our countries will raise up and say, no, guys, we have the churches here. It wants to work with us. It wants to see justice. It wants to see development and end of poverty. But our continent is mostly affected. So what do we do? Let us work together with the church. Okay. And for him coming from America, I think he'll be seen as one of the greatest people there influence.
Thank you, Clement, for that. And it really sets the tone for my next question to you, Mr. Kintola. I mean, the Pope Leo XIV is not just, the first when it comes to being an American, but also that he's an Augustinian, is also from the Augustinian part of the church, seminaries or I forgot what they call themselves now. And so he's one of the first. And one of the things that they shun is, worldliness, and they're very steadfast and modest about their way of living. And he's been to Nigeria twice, I think. So he sort of has some connection to Africa. And it was very symbolic that he's taking the name Pope Leo XIV, given that his predecessor, the person who had that name before, somewhat shattered what we now know as workers' rights that is now being used as Clement rightfully put. And so with all that's happening, in present day, I remember when, President Joe Biden was giving his final speech on the floor on the White House, just before President Donald Trump was supposed to take the mantle. He did say that these are weary times that we're in. The oligarchy seems to be taking over, and that seems to be what we're seeing now. The rich over the poor. And is there any? Do you think there's going to be some sort of direction when it comes to the oligarchy giving his Augustinian background? Do you think we'll see that where he shuns riches entirely and champions the cause of the emerging countries and developing countries, and also the developing continents like Africa?
Yeah, no, thank you, and that's quite a very great question. Well, I think maybe the first thing that I just would like to just stress is the fact that Pope Leo is actually inheriting a world that is actually faced with many challenges. The issues of debt, the issues of climate, the issues of conflict. And I don't know if you remember that one of the things that the church today is dealing with, which the church is in the forefront, is this year has been declared the year of Jubilee. The year of Jubilee, where the emphasis is around Jubilee of Hope, which is actually basically to address the issue of debt crisis. Because as you know, many nations of the world are actually paying debts that makes them unable to be able to pay for health, for education. There's the whole issue of climate. There's the whole issue of the humanitarian crisis, from war in Sudan, in Democratic Republic of Congo, in Ukraine, in the Gaza. So he's come at a time when the world itself is facing a lot of challenges. But I think one thing that is important, the fact that he's got this American background, but he's also a naturalized citizen of Peru. He's also a Peruvian. And so, because he spent quite a significant number of years in Peru as a missionary bishop. And so he comes with all of this. And it's also important to recognize the fact that the Pope is actually a strong moral voice. Irrespective of which order the Pope comes from, is a very strong moral voice that can actually bring people together for common good. And I think Pope Leo XIV is going to be bringing this moral voice together in order to be able to bring political leaders from different divide, irrespective of what the political divide is. We saw that in Pope Francis, the fact that when Pope Francis was there, he had a way of speaking to power, okay? Even when when the leaders of the world do not want to hear certain things, but he has a way of being able to speak truth to power in a way that make them felt able to listen. And I think that is also a moral voice that also I think Pope Leo XIV is going to be bringing. You will have seen that from his inaugural speech. When he had his inaugural speech, you would see that during that inaugural speech, he started by talking about peace. If you remember, he began with the word, peace be with you, emphasizing a sort of a Christ-centered, humble and unharmed peace. So it is very important to recognize that he would be able, as the leader of 1.4 billion people around the world, but also also a very strong moral voice that can actually bring leaders, irrespective of their political persuasion. Even we know we're in a world that is a bit polarized at the moment.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Akitola, I'm still going to stay with you. I mean, talking about strong moral voice, there's also the issue which has sparked debates and reactions. The issue of gender identity and also sexuality, which also formed a core part of the issues the last Pope did address. And we're talking about the issue of gay rights and, what I call it, the free society right now, which in the last administration of the previous Pope, it seemed to be liberal, even though the church is a conservative space. So what position do you think the new Pope might take on these issues?
Well, so this is that's actually an important question and an important issue. And I think the new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, is going to have to continue to divine the right path with that. But it will also be interesting to see how he handles some of those other pressing issues that is affecting the world. In as much as I know that there's issues of the LGBTQ plus the issues about the role of women in the church are quite an important issue, but I think we are going to follow him and see how he continues to divine that right path. But it is interesting to know that there are other also pressing issues that he would need to be addressing, both at the global stage. And just like I rightly mentioned to you, some of those issues around debt crisis, around issues of climate change, you will hear also from his inaugural speech. He talks about the fact that he will really want to also continue to champion some of the legacies of Pope Francis. And I think one of it is the issue of his environmental legacy. The work that Pope Francis did around the issue of environmental justice through his letter to the world called Laudato Si, which has continued to actually shape those conversations around environmental issues.
Right. Clement, let me come to you before we let you go. Clement, you are in Johannesburg, and this is a first for America, first for the Augustinian order. He champions some of the works or some of the beliefs that the late Pope Francis championed: social inequality, climate justice. But again, this is Focus Africa. So, do you think that he's visited Africa twice, and I don't know how many times, but I know he's been to Nigeria twice. What do you think the church in Africa will be expecting from him, when it comes to engagements with us?
Well, this is so beautiful because I didn't know he's been to Nigeria twice. He's also been to South Africa twice.
Yeah, he's been to Nigeria twice.
As a superior. Yes. So yeah, he was in South Africa in 2002 and also in 2009, visiting the St. Augustinian nuns as a superior general. So I was so thrilled to see his pictures. When they were revealing his pictures, no, we didn't know that he was going to be a future pope in due course. But what is important is that he's not a stranger in Africa. That is one thing that is important. And secondly, he is aware of the issues that are surrounding Africa, which are both perpetrated by the political nature that we're sitting on, and also, as you mentioned, him inheriting the world that is experienced these difficulties. He is coming in there to a continent that is seeing a lot of suffering, number one. A continent that is seeing a lot of migration to other countries, but now this needs to be stabilized. How can it be stabilized? It is to come into Africa and also engage with the leaders and address these issues. So as you know, that Africa is over 280 million, more than 20% are Catholics in Africa. So he is coming in here to say, no, as your shepherd, I'm coming there so that we can talk to your leaders and work together in order to develop our continent. It is so important as well that we see a lot of changing coming in. But I would also divert a little bit and become a little bit political. Him coming from America, I think it's not a coincidence. I think God saw it fitting that we have America. We all know that America had stopped some U.S. aid to Africa for some reasons, and then which most of African leaders and most of us people who benefited from them were saying it could be a selfish act. But now having somebody who is coming from America, we think, we hope that he's going to be talking to his brother Donald Trump and say, but look it in this way. You do to say that by doing this, you are not actually making politicians in Africa suffer, but you're making the Africans themselves to suffer by stopping these aids. But why can we not do these things like this? I pray and I wish that Trump would listen to those things, since his brother now is sitting mediating for the flock of God on earth. Besides that, the next thing that you will need to address in Africa, where Pope Francis was so vocal, it was on these wars that are taking place. We know Pope Francis was close to Burkina Faso. He went to Central Africa, where they were fighting internally between Muslims and Christians. We know that he has even come to Southern Africa. Pope Francis, he used his papal funds, actually, which is one thing that we expect. He used his papal fund to build a hospital in Swaziland, to build schools in Swatini Kingdom, and also visited the Southern African Bishop conferences. So all these things, we are hoping, we are praying, and then we're expecting to see them being carried forward by Pope Leo XIV. Yeah,
you keep calling him his brother. I don't want to say anything, but knowing who Donald Trump is, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there, Clement. I'll leave it there. But I must say, gentlemen, it's been wonderful having you on and just having this conversation with you. We wait to see him come on at the Vatican at the balcony there, which is going to be the first Mass for him, or I think this is first Holy Mass for the Pope that he will be conducting this Sunday. Those are the live visuals. All of the faithfuls are already gathered at St. Peter's Square, the Vatican. They're just waiting for the Pope to come out onto the balcony for his first ever Holy Mass celebration. Mr. Kayode Akintola, and also to Clement as well, joining us live from Johannesburg, South Africa. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming, and I appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go on the show, shall we? When we return, we turn to glitz, glamour, fashion, big wins from the AMVCA of 2025. After the break. Something we won't say to our Nigerian athletes is welcome back, but to you, our audience, I say welcome back to Breakfast Extra. I didn't write that, I swear I didn't. I know someone's going to think it's me, it's not me. So last night, the stars aligned in a spectacular fashion as the Africa Magic Viewers' Choice Awards, AMVCA, took center stage. Now, the event was a dazzling display of glitz, glamour, and talent, and we were right there in the thick of it. Joining us now are our ace correspondents. We got Labaika, I call him Baika Abdulaziz. We also had entertainment, who's also our entertainment producer as well. And we also have Sam Dandies, an entertainment anchor here at News Central. But I call him, the man is Dandy. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. Let's get into all the glitz and glamour and all the red carpets and all the wins as well from last night.
Thank you for having us, Judith. I must confess, it was absolutely beautiful. You know, seeing all the stars walk the red carpet in their expensive outfits. But I think a lot of people were out there to celebrate, you know, the nominees, because it was super competitive this year. You know, and 11 nominations for 7 doors. That was impressive. But to see them win the award, of course, for lead actor and lead actress, I think starting off, that was incredible. Femi Adebayo, of course, for lead actor, and Chioma Chukwuka for lead actress. I don't know, something about that. Did you see 7 doors? Did anybody else see 7 doors?
What were the surprise wins for the night for you, Sam?
Honestly, I would say, I feel like there are a lot for me, but I do think I was super proud to see the Trailblazer Award go to Kaede Kasum. I mean, Kaede has been a part of super great movies, you know, over the past years, from, you know, I believe Elevator Baby, even with Timini. So I think that was one for me, you know, besides, of course, I'm not going to lie to you. It's in any other category, we didn't see where a particular film would win for, you know, both to an actress. And maybe that was a surprise, but out of 11 nominations, honestly, it shouldn't be a surprise for 7 doors. But Femi Adebayo winning for lead actor, and then from the same film, Chioma winning for lead actress. That was a big surprise, but a good surprise for me for sure.
Wow.
I mean, let's talk about the red carpet and some of the outfits that the stars came in. I know I saw something on social media Desmond Elliott did where an elaborate, like on his skit. You know, but for you, I mean, looking at the outfit last night, which would you say stood out for you, and what's your impression of what you saw in terms of fashion?
I know this is not the Met Gala, but let's be honest. Ooh, Nigerians ate. I mean, I did speak to Desmond, and it was a nice chat. I told him that Gen Zs would appreciate, him. He's an OG. That was literally what he said. He said, "I'm an OG, but what do you think about the outfit?" And in my mind, I was thinking to myself, this man had this big on skirt, he's wearing. I was proud to see that the younger generation are influencing the older ones to even come out, to look even cooler, or at least unconventional. But Osaz Godawa looked beautiful. Everyone just had a touch of elegance to it. I saw, who had a banana? Oh my goodness, if Labaika was here. What's her name again? Papia, social media content creator. She had a banana on. I'm like, you know what? People are always pushing the envelope when it comes to fashion, and I'm not surprised. They're expensive. It's expensive to look that good, so I'm really not surprised when it comes to, the fashion and people showing up and showing out, honestly.
All right. We've been informed that Labaika Abubakar has just joined us. I have no clue why I said Abubakar. Labaika Abdulaziz, there we go. Baika, how are you doing? Good morning to you.
Yeah.
Well, you partied all night and then you couldn't wake up and meet up time. Don't worry, you get an email from HR. Anyway, let's start with you. What was the biggest surprise for wins from last night for you?
Well, I would say I was surprised that Stanley didn't win the best actor for subscription. But then actually, I would say everybody that actually won at the award well deserved, to be very honest. I had a couple of people that were actually spotlighted. We had Sani Mwazu and Inkemowo getting the Lifetime Achievement Award. Good enough. It's good to see the veterans actually getting spotlighted and being credited for their work. They have put in so much work over the past decades, and then just transcending this African culture more and more. So it's good to see the fact that Africa is being spotlighted and just doing the good work.
All right, Labaika, just like I asked Sam Dandy, the outfits of the night. I saw quite a couple of them on social media. Which will you say stood out for you the most? Pretty unconventional outfits.
Yeah, I think I would say Nana Akufo-Addo. That's the Ghanaian model and actress. She actually did it in last year, where she actually had a dispute around her outfit, whereby the designers were going back and forth, getting credit and all of that. And now she came back again. I wasn't surprised in her outfit, kind of a futuristic and more bringing beauty, fashion and engineering together on her piece. And I like what that looked like, the fact that you put in so much effort. And it's no news that everybody tried to show out when it comes to the AMVCAs and every other award. So it's good. That's my best one, to be honest.
All right, Labaika, let me leave you. Let me go back to Sam Dandy. I mean, you said something. You said that these guys, many of them came out looking expensive. And that tells you that awards like this is no child's play anymore in Africa. I mean, some would equate what we saw last night to maybe our own equivalent of the Oscars. What areas do you think, further development can be done to encourage and also improve it such that maybe it even becomes a global thing?
Isn't it?
A lot of people would tell you, collaborations, making sure that, those who do it well and those who are developing, can come together. But I would say one thing I noticed, a lot of people also noticed, would be the award ceremony starting earlier this year. So I feel like, no Nigerian time was impressive to see. So the red carpet in no time was packed with everyone who's everybody, and the ceremony started before, you could say, Jack, it was done. I mean, 28 categories, 28 awards to be giving out, and everything happened seamlessly, to be honest. So I would say, honestly, developing right now, but with the stars, with the output, with our A-list stars, if I have to say that, and their turnout and the films, I do think, in no time we'll get to the Oscars. We'll do even bigger things. Hopefully our films, some of these epic films that are doing so good right now, Lisa B, these films with the indigenous languages, hopefully can even earn us an Oscar nomination. I think that's that's one thing that I'm looking forward to seeing. You know, Adetimeji Latif, of course, did win for indigenous language, yes, with Lisabi. That was also a nice win for epic films this year.
Okay, and in terms of storytelling, the quality of movies we produce, some would compare what we see now in terms of storytelling to maybe the 90s, you know, when it was still cassettes and all of that. In terms of storytelling, how would you say awards like this, you know, impact in its quality and maybe relatability?
You know, and I tease when I say this, when I say it's epic film season. I'm a Yoruba boy who doesn't speak Yoruba properly. But with these films, you're getting more familiar. I spoke to someone on the red carpet who said, you know what, after every single epic film, that, you know, she learns a new word, learns a new sentence, learns something in an indigenous language. And I think it's absolutely impressive to see that we can all tap into our origin, you know, through the storytelling. So not only are we seeing that it's cleaner because it's 2025, 2024, we're seeing cleaner productions, but the storytelling, we're all going back to that era, you know, tapping into our languages. And even makeup, the makeup, it looks realistic. You know, I know it's not too much, it's not science fiction, but when we're going back in time, you can see that it's properly represented. So it's honestly, we're really looking forward to seeing a lot more better stuff coming out, honestly.
I wonder if you know, the AMVC would one day change from Viewers' Choice Award to, I wonder if it would metamorphose from it being voted based on, you know, what viewers think is best to now be a Critics' Choice Award, so to speak. Do you think it's about time that happens?
More like the Razzie Awards. Is that?
Yeah, because I mean, the Oscars, they have a school of voters, and they're all critics, you know, art critics and film critics, and those who have like been watching movies for a long time, and they're the ones who understand the art and are custodians of it. Do you think that AMVCA is going to, maybe in the next 5 years or 3 years, metamorphose to it being a you know, Critics' Choice Award? I'm going to ask you, Labaika, before we go to
I think it's not a bad idea if you have the Critics' Choice Award, in the sense that when you have a Critics' Choice Award, there's a very high chance of you actually doing better, in the sense that everybody now gets to know like their faults in their movies, and we learn from that. So on the long run, it's not bad that we still have the AMVCA now doing their thing now, before we have the Critics' Choice Award, like you said, in a couple of years. So it's good, and I feel like this particular award is just a very good way to like spotlight the African culture, make us like seen in better light. I want to talk about the storytelling of our African stories. They are very important in the sense that we have seen a lot of epic stories, epic films being spotlighted. We had Lisa B, we had Seven Doors doing numbers at the AMVCA. And that's good in the sense that if we don't tell our stories by ourselves, there are very high chances that the Westerners might tell our story for us, and they might tell it in a bad way. So it's good that we keep on telling these stories by ourselves, being authentic to the African culture, African heritage, and just doing well in our fashion, in music, cut across every aspect of life. So AMVCA is doing their thing now, and I feel like with time, maybe over the past next 2 years, there's going to be like more improvements with the award.
Danny, your final remarks, very quickly, 30 seconds. Should it metamorphose to Voters' Critics' Choice Award?
I got to be honest, that's a very interesting question, because currently we're 28 awards giving out. 18 of those awards were, of course, you know, selected by a jury, right? 10 were up for, you know, votes. So I don't know how that's going to change. In some categories, you know, like maybe Best Actor, Best Actress, it'll be hard, because if voters will vote, it means that if you have a lot of fans, you can easily snatch the award, even though your performance might not have been the best. Yeah. Of course, so there's certain categories that will still be out there for people to vote. Yeah. But of course, there's certain categories that the organizers have realized that, you know what, it's better that we're in control of this, and you know that helps to, you know, put some level of standard to it.
Yeah, and even credibility as well.
Yes, we're happy to see, of course, the inclusion of Best Score for Original Music, you know, for the first time this year. Of course, content creators, like Best Digital Content Creator was another one that was impressive for a lot of people, because now we're seeing that people post movies on YouTube. People make short clips that are on Instagram and are worth celebrating, because they do carry storytelling. They do show, you know, a lot of different things from different angles. And we had interviewed one of the winners, E or Prosper, you know, even on E Central weeks ago when he was nominated. to see that he won that one for we don't judge the Bible edition. That was very interesting. You know, a lot of great things honestly happened this year. Next year will be bigger. I can tell that.
Right, gentlemen, I must say thank you so much for taking out the time to join us. We know that tomorrow is going to be 1 hour of exclusive footages from AMVCA 2025, and you guys were there live. We saw the presser joint that you had all set up for all of your exclusives, and we're going to air that on our entertainment belt 1 hour tomorrow. I look forward to it. But gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for coming on. Labaka Abdulaziz and, of course, Sam Dandy, our producer and anchor on East Central Entertainment Show. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. And this is where we close the curtains for today's show. It's been quite the show.
Yes.
Dapo, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to sit in for Mazino.
Thank you.
So next week, Mazino should be back.
All right, in the meantime, you can always catch him on PHQ. Politics HQ here on News Central. There's the host, catch him 7 to 8 o'clock, okay?
Yeah,
Mazino is back on Saturday, 8 a.m.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
and of course, to all our viewers at home, thank you for sticking with News Central. Don't forget to follow us on social media. The handle is there on the screen at News Central TV.
Also, do remember that Breakfast Central comes up live again tomorrow from 7 a.m. down to 10 a.m. Join the trio, and that's Olive, Joe, and Benga live. And also keep it locked here onto News Central, because we'll be bringing you live footages from the Vatican as we await for Pope Leo XIV to come on for his first ever Holy Mass this Sunday at the balcony at the Vatican. Until then, bye for now.